Hi. Hey, this session is about best practices. In this session, you're going to get a lot of different ideas that you can actually utilize right away. Before I begin, okay, I've been saying that a lot of my trainings, this is full service. I want to be full disclosure in my whole entire journey of this. After that morning of sitting, my back is killing me. And so what I want to share with you right now is my setup here. And so here, I'm now standing. After all that sitting, my back is killing me. And so I already had a laptop stand to put the laptop on, but it wasn't high enough. So now I put it on a box and it's all on the counter. And so if at some point you just need to stand while you're teaching, I advise you do that because it's a long time to be hunched over. I've been recommending tools that people get. I've gotten a wireless mouse as well as a kind of full size. I like these split ergonomic keyboards. And so they just kind of keep your arms from being scrunched up. So your neck and back, you give them a little break. So I'm going to be standing for the remainder of this presentation. And incidentally, if you're looking for a doc cam right now, all I've done is I've used my phone and put it on Zoom. And so if you buy what they call a gooseneck smartphone holder, you can just set it over paper and this serve as your doc cam. You just got to spotlight it. And so that is an alternative for you to it's alternative to the doc cam. Okay. Jen, anything before we begin?
I don't think so. I'm just wondering, we have a lot of people here already. I guess can we wait like 2 more minutes?
Sure.
I don't think this session will take a whole hour. So I think we have a minute or two to let a few more people roll in. The presentation is linked in the chat. And then there was a really good suggestion this morning. If you Control Command Spacebar, this came from Eunice Kim, Control Command Spacebar in the chat, you'll get the emoji choices. And so her idea was that if you had a question, use a question mark emoji so that it stands out from an answer or a comment in the chat, and then helps us kind of figure that out. And the question of, does the district have any funds? To be honest, I don't really know. Rich, do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I believe in the MOU, there was a clause that said there was $300 for teachers to spend on various supplies to prepare for remote learning. And so I don't know as far as the process for reimbursement for that goes, but that is as much as I can tell you. So,
all right.
How about we get
going?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so this session is called Best Practices. We've got a whole bunch of different best practices, ideas that you can walk away with from today and implement tomorrow.
Are you recording, Rich?
Yes, I am.
Okay, just double check.
Yep. And so I always have a little warm-up screen for students, have a little problem for them to think about, a brain teaser or something to stimulate them. I play music. So we're going to start off by going through, a lot of schools have started before us, like some people started early August. And so some teachers and districts have had a head start, and which also means they're also sharing their experience and strategies with remote learning so far. And there's tons of ideas out on Twitter and various platforms where teachers are sharing their frustrations as well as their successes in remote teaching. And so I'm going to share with you one teacher's journey through the first week as they relay on Twitter. So we're just going to read them out loud to you. I know sometimes it's hard to read on the screen. So which another tip is that anything you share screen-wise, make it a huge font for accessibility for all students. Okay, let's go. Jen?
Oh, number 1, something is going to fail. The sooner you understand that, the better.
When it fails, the kids will roll with it. I've never met a more patient group of teenagers.
Or younger students too. Kids really want to be in person for live instruction, and I feel for them.
Teachers really want to be in person for live instruction.
Distance learning is not live instruction in a digital format. It's much different and requires more careful planning.
Parents, guardians, and other non-students will pass by your chat. Act accordingly.
You're on a hot mic, especially when you make mistakes with attendance.
It's worth asking students to turn their video on if they're comfortable, but that's where it ends for me.
It's okay to ask a kid to put a shirt on.
PJs, sweatshirts, they're good.
When you share your screen, give students time to go back and do it on their own. They are watching you first.
Breathe, y'all, you're going to be okay.
Checking, that's okay. Checking on a colleague during your prep or downtime is therapeutic to everyone. Do that. Be a good person.
Realize that kids are going to lose internet connection or have a hard time logging in. Be patient.
Humor is not the same in person as it is in a video chat. Yet, still working on that.
Connect with students early and often.
Do you link to this? Here's the intro slide I asked students to complete. It doubled as the way to check to make sure they knew how to copy a Google thing, complete it, change, share settings, and turn it in.
And you guys will see that later. Next one, give students something content related early. It's important to build relationships, and I think it can be done while building content mastery. We did an introduction to Desmos, and that was fantastic.
Take attendance and realize you'll screw it up.
And for dinner that night.
Afford yourself and your students the grace to figure out this new landscape of forced distance learning. It isn't going to be easy and it isn't the best, but we are making the most of it. Give yourself the space to sit back and realize that you, yes, you are doing great.
Use breakout rooms if possible. A room of 44 strangers is intimidating and a room of 2 or 3 strangers is much less so. I have been using breakout rooms, then jumping into each one, checking in on every student by name, then moving along.
So, after hearing that, I think it's just good to hear from another perspective. Somebody who's gone through it before. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have ups and downs, but it's a journey we're all going through together. It's that the empathy of sharing that shared experience with teachers across the world, I think is powerful. So right now what we're going to do is we have 20 quick tips, or we call them quick takes, things that you can walk away with and think about and do and implement. And we're also going to be supplying you with the resources for it. Many of these, I know all my blue ones on the blue screens will have a hot link to a template that you can copy right away and use. So here's the first one, spare the ear, which is all the more appropriate today, right? So last week while I was on a Zoom PD, somebody said, you're ding on your text, because my iMessages come through on my phone. We're killing their ears. So get on to your settings and make sure if you have your texts coming in through your computer, you turn off those ding alerts because they can be very painful. This is a hot link. The image here is a hot link to directions on how to do that.
This is a slide just about really kind of rethinking, going slow, keeping things simple. You can't move at the same pace, remembering that you just can't move at the same pace that you're used to. Reframe your thinking, take things a bit slower, and keep them simpler for you and for your students. And we had a good conversation in our Zoom discussion, or maybe it was in our last, I can't remember, breakout, one of my breakouts this morning. And we were talking about the quote that's on the website about not just digitizing your lessons, but trying to transform your teaching. And I know that's a giant ask. And so on this slide, I just wanted to back up and say that that's not necessary to do all at once. Taking baby steps, going slow with yourself, especially as you're learning new tools and new things, is really important. And it's also really important that you do that for your students, to introduce new tools slowly. So it's kind of time to KonMari your teaching, declutter your curriculum and your delivery of instruction, and really try to kind of just simplify.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Have students fill out a slide introducing themselves. It doubles as a way to make sure they know how to copy a Google thing, add comments, change share settings, add images, and turn it in. And so this is a sample of it where the teacher's already created their name. They tell them about themselves, something I'm not looking forward to, something I'm looking forward to. and make a slide for each kid and tell them that they should, you could pre-populate with names, but they'll give you, and then you're asking them to put a picture in, tell a little bit about themselves. This activity is a good icebreaker. You could do it individually where each person gets their own, or you could do it as one big class one so that they can get to know each other as well. Because it's going to, getting connection and relationship and rapport is huge this year. And it's going to get hard to know your classmates if they're not sitting next to you and in your small groups in a physical way. And this is one way to kind of get the ball rolling. And it doubles as kind of you figuring out what they need to learn in tech.
I'm also just going to add, I don't know if anyone's unmuted, but if you are unmuted, if you could mute yourself, that'd be super helpful. This one is talking about taking the time to see what things look like for your students. The IT department has created student sample accounts, and they're listed there, and they're also listed on the teacher toolkit page of the district EdTech website. So if you want to check something from their perspective and see what does Google Classroom, you could add one of these students to your Google Classroom, you could add them to your Seesaw, you could check an app from their perspective to see what it looks like.
Yeah, so it works for anything, right? You can use it for Flipgrid, for forms, anything. Just give it a test drive before you go. What's in a name? We're going to encourage, and until the district says something else, for students to take attendance via the participant screen, have students rename themselves with the last first convention. I know that I'm going to be talking to AMS families and have directions about doing that. If they do it on the website, then it'll be a quick scan for you to take attendance by just looking at the participant page, because then it'll be alphabetical order by their last name. And so hopefully we can get all students to do that. And so it will enable, and this is a video on how to guide students how to change their name so that their last name is their first in their profile. So it shows up in a way that's easy and efficient for us to take attendance with.
And I'm just going to add on that one, you could have them change it to whatever you want. So if elementary teachers are using a checklist that's just first names, you could ask them to do that as well. This one is on setting up email templates. We're getting tons of email. And so if you find yourself writing the exact same thing over and over, and it's kind of a common email that you find yourself sending, whether it's, whatever it is, you can set up a template, and then those templates are linked in your Compose a new message, and you can quickly just choose a template. It auto-fills your email, and then you could send that out. So some of you might have already gotten one from me about using our form. If you have a question, I set that up as a template. So it's a really big time saver.
Take roll while kids do warm up on Zoom. And so what you can do if you're planning to take roll is, this is a video that tells you how you can. Let's say you want to start off the period by them doing a warm up. You could, this is going to sound complicated, but this is a video that gives you a walkthrough on the steps for achieving this. You can have the kids you share a screen with a warm up problem on it. They're working on it. You can even play music in the background. Meanwhile, you navigate to another window, get on Aries, pull up the participant window in Zoom, take attendance, and you can still look at the chat screen right at the same time while they're doing all that. And so you will become somewhat of a multitasking ninja by the end of all this. It might sound like a lot right now, but this is a teacher who has put together a how-to video on exactly how to do that. So I encourage you to watch it. If you don't use it, it's a good tool to learn how to do some of the pieces that are as far as multitasking through a Zoom session.
All right, always start with your learning goal, not the tools. So even though you're learning a ton of new tech tools probably as you're getting started, keep your learning goal in mind, not the tools. So we should always be focused on what our learning goal is. And this is my favorite video around this. And just don't forget that sometimes just jotting on paper or, talking to each other in a breakout room or getting hands on physical books, as much as you can make that possible, is still very much what students might need.
Emma. Huh? Emma? 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 Emma?
And someone just mentioned that they wanted to show that in class, but they had an Emma. I had a year where I had 3 Emmas in my class, and I did show that video, and we started calling them Emma, like kind of in the same way the guy does. So.
Okay. So breakout rooms, I think, is going to be a powerful tool this year. You're going to give students a voice where they might not be comfortable in a big setting. It'll provide some camaraderie and socialization. You'll have think time and fun time with it. It's important to set up norms. So this screen will be shared with you. Again, you don't need to be furiously jotting everything down. Come up with some norms, teach them, practice them early on. We can't assume that everybody knows, if you know the 3 Bs, you're good with, 3 Bs are very different in this digital setting. And so teach them to your kids, write them out, go over them, revisit them every so often until they've got it down. And you might need to add to that list as you discover new ways for them to be fun and ways that you don't want them to be fun.
I've really been thinking a lot when gathering the resources that we've been putting on our website and just talking with teachers about getting set up and thinking about their teaching for this year, of really highlighting and spotlighting 2 different things, choice and voice. And I think it's really important. I think it can be really engaging for students to give them some choice. So maybe rethink, how are you going to assess them showing what they know, making some choice there, and then which of these tools can really give them an opportunity to share their voice. And that EdTech Choice Board is some options to elevate student voice.
Use a timer slide. So if you're going through a long slideshow, it's easy to lose track. You say, class, you have 2 minutes to work on this problem or think about this. All you have to, in order to help kind of pace yourself, you can go to make a slide that has a timer on it that's a video from YouTube. And so I just happen to choose 2.5 minutes. You just got to Google on YouTube or go on YouTube and do a search for, 3-minute timer. You insert it and it'll play for you within the slide so that students can see how much time is left. Right now, I set this to autoplay, so it just started playing once I hit the slide. You can make it manual play where you actually click it. This page, I believe, should be a hot link. So I've already created a template. If you want to just copy it, you click on this, it will take you to that template. This is, I think, very helpful to pace yourself with. I also want to, at this moment, put a plug in for you to set a timer for yourself when you're teaching. Because, I think we all noted that it's the time between classes, it feels like a long time, but it's not if you need to kind of get yourself situated, move around, all this stuff. And so I think when teachers go long, it makes it really hard on the kids, even though I know your content's important, but if you set an alarm on your phone with, 5 minutes left in the period, it beeps, it helps you to pace yourself, because you do definitely want to give the students a break before their next class. And so 2 ways to manage time: a timer slide and a time for yourself as far as teaching.
I'm a big proponent of labeling your emails and filing them so that you don't have 4,000 messages in your inbox. So down at the bottom, under your inbox and your list of different types of emails, you can create labels. And so you can file them away under different categories and not have this gigantic inbox staring at you.
Okay, this is a potential ice-breaking, get-to-know-you type of activity. What this is a graph, obviously, and we've got x-axis that says average number, and you can change it to whatever you want. I've created a template for you so that you can use it. Average hours of TV and internet per day during the summer. Average time of wake up in the summer. And you're going to type in every student name into here, and you're going to give them instructions. Drag your name to where you belong, right? So some kid who says, you know what, I woke up really late, but I didn't use the internet very much. They're right over here. Or I kind of did middle amount I'm in here. And so it's kind of fun for kids to see each other's name dragged about. You can make a series of these slides with like 5 or 6 different categories and have some fun with them getting, seeing who else has, 3 pets or whatever the case may be. But it's kind of an alternative icebreaker that also doubles as tech familiarization. So do they know how to access a slide? Also, I think it's important for them to learn, and you need to teach how to minimize the Zoom window and open up a browser, and then how to go back, and then how not to panic if upon going back, they realize they've been kicked out of the Zoom session or disconnected, that they know how to reconnect again. So an activity like this serves many purposes.
Share the load. I think it's really, really important this year more than ever to share with your colleagues. So collaborate, share, divide up the work, and relieve each other as much as possible. So a few ideas on how to do this. Number 1 is having shared drive. Then everything inside that drive is usable. There's also just shared folders. And so you could share everything that goes inside a folder on your regular drive with whoever you want to have access to that shared folder in your drive. You could create a master classroom, and this meaning Google Classroom. So I have friends that teach in other districts who have set up a master classroom for each grade level. And so teachers can post their work to that master classroom, and then you're all co-teachers in that master classroom, and then you can just reassign something from that classroom to one of your other classrooms. So that's something to maybe talk about with your colleagues. Slack workspace is a great thing to set up for conversation. I've been plugging the elementary one. And then looking for online templates. There's so much that already exists out there, and you would be surprised if you just do a Google search of what you're looking for. Like someone said that they didn't have a timer slide. We'll definitely make sure you have access to ours, but that's one thing you could find, I'm sure, if you Google.
Just as I had told you, sitting for so long all this morning, I got super sore. And so I think especially you have a long period, if you've got a block period, make a give me a break slide where you tell the kids, you know what, turn off your video, turn off your mic, stand up, breathe, stretch, dance, take a lap around the house, have them step away from the screen because they're going to be on the screen a lot. And I think you being intentional about that lets them know that you care about them and their body and their holistic well-being beyond just learning. To give them that break, to step away, I think is really important. And if you put a slide into your presentation that you're giving, it will help you to be intentional about it and not just giving them a break if you remember. So being deliberate about it. And then again, this has a timer on it. I already had it reset, and this, you can see this visual timer gives them a visual cue as to when it's gonna be up as well. So there's all sorts of different colorful and animated timers on YouTube. Again, you just gotta go on YouTube, search for the link that you want. You can just put 5-minute, 20-second timer. It's gonna give you a whole bunch of different ones. You copy the link for it, and then you embed it into your slideshow. And then you can either click on autoplay when you reach that screen, or you can click on the play arrow to make it go, depending on how you adjust your settings. Again, this is a template for you to use.
There's a page on the website called Sharing Library, and there's lots of templates there for scheduling and for different kinds of project-based things that you can use with your students. There's all kinds of templates that you can grab. It forces you to make a copy of anything on there, so you have your own copy as soon as you click on it. One thing that I put together is a family outreach log. So you could use this form, and anytime you contact a family, you could just fill out this simple form that has the student name, who did you contact, the date, and then if, when you scroll down, it has how did you reach out, phone, email, and then notes about your conversation. And the great thing about this is you can just use that form over and over again. And then you have all your family communication log. If you click the spreadsheet button from your Google form, you have all that. And so if you sorted by the student name, you could have a log right there of all the different contacts you've made about a particular student. So grab that from the sharing library if it's something you're interested in.
This is a kind of a low risk, low threat, but very open-ended activity that kind of came out of math that's been really popular for the last few years, and it can go for, you can really use it for any subject level, but it's which one doesn't belong. And which ones belongs are, you display 4 things. It could be math related or not. And they're awesome because there's no wrong answers, right? The key here is them telling you why. The answer is irrelevant. It's their substantiating why they believe that and expressing their opinion. You can use the language of, what's your claim and what's your warrant. And it gives a chance for kids to kind of get, so you can put them in breakout rooms, share the screen and say, which one of these 4 characters doesn't belong? Which one of these 4 food doesn't belong? So it's a kind of good, easy way to get them talking to each other, and getting to know each other a little more and hearing their own voice and hearing each other's voice in class.
And Rich, we talked about that, which one doesn't belong, when we were in our elementary Zoom meeting, and we were talking about maybe even having this up on the screen when you're taking attendance. It could be another thing that they're thinking about and processing while you're taking your quick attendance.
Yeah. And I've got a big bank of these, and also there's dedicated which one doesn't belong website, at least for math, that has a gajillion resources for every age level, up through high school. So.
Schedule, send your emails. This has been, I've really been appreciating this one this summer. I think we all are doing work outside of our normal work hours, but sometimes I don't think you want people to know that you're doing that because you don't want to set that precedent. So even if I like to clear my inbox at 10 o'clock at night, I don't necessarily want families to know that I'm doing that because then they come to expect it. So I'll do that for my own sanity to clear out my inbox, but then I'll schedule send all those emails. So if you just click the little arrow next to the word send, you can pick the day and time that you want your message to send, and then it's just done. You're done with it. Just don't delete anything before the send happens because it won't will clear your inbox. So I'm kind of a delete queen. So anyway, just it helps you at least give the optics that you are not working insane hours, and so people aren't starting to expect that.
I'm going to piggyback on that just for a quick second. So Jen's saying, write it, send it during work hours. I think we have somewhat of a PR problem with this district right now with people and their impressions of teachers. So you could actually go the opposite extreme and schedule it to send at 3:23 a.m. so that they think you are burning the midnight oil. So every email is coming up at like crazy hours in the morning. But anyhow, I'm a little goofy.
And you could CC the board on all of them too.
I went over this slide during my Zoom presentation. I'm just going to read it one more time and then say a little piece after that. This is regarding whether kids should turn on their cameras. And you won't read this. You won't be able to read this because it's so small, I think, so I'm reading it aloud. In the interest of equitable practices and policy, there's been a strong movement to allow for student discretion when it comes to cameras. Standing in our positions of privilege, it may be very difficult to put ourselves in the shoes of students and imagine what legitimate reasons they may have for not wanting to be on screen. We have the privilege, have the technology we need, the homes we want, the emotional and mental capacity and resilience. We have all the resources at our fingertips. It is so hard to imagine not having those resources and what it feels like when your teacher invites themselves into your home and into your bedroom or into your crowded kitchen, into your living room or into your closet because that's the only space you have. You may be babysitting a sibling and your sibling may be doing next to you in their own class. Like imagine you're a 3rd grade brother sitting in your high school class in a live setting. You wouldn't want that, and you might not feel so comfortable sharing that. It's unfair and indeed harmful when teachers jump to the conclusion that students are lazy or uncaring. It is important for us to actively consider and be sensitive to the situation of vulnerable populations, and it is often a blind spot for us. Best educational practice would then dictate that we can recommend cameras be on, but that we truly leave it up to the students. No guilt trip, no pressure, no threats, no grade attached. Ultimate goal is student engagement and opportunities for students to participate and demonstrate understanding. There are many mediums with which students can engage in class. Chat window, paired deck slides, breakout rooms. Encourage and affirm the use of these alternate methods so that they are not, and know that they are not lesser than the ones who have their cameras on. Check in on students by name, have one-on-one sessions to build relationship, rapport, and trust. Relationships not rules, are the key to successful teaching. And I actually have a special guest that I want to invite in just to, we really want to make your personality come through. You want to be able to build a connection. You want to be able to make them laugh. I'm going to invite my special guest in so that you can just make a quick comment. Let me go find him. Hi. I think we should all relax and just let loose, have theme days, get to know your kids, and have fun with our learning this year. Are you guys seeing this or not? I'm not getting a reaction. Is it working? Yes?
It's pinned on Jen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I'm over here returning a text.
Jen, you're the host. Can you spotlight me for a second? There we go.
There we go.
So this is Snap Camera. And what it does is that it, actually, I'm a little frozen now, huh? So I have kind of too many things running right now, but it allows you to have a little fun with your teaching. It wouldn't be so glitchy. I'm just kind of running too many things at once. But it has different filters that allow you to talk and show yourself in silly ways. And I think kids will appreciate that, that the teacher can have a little fun with themselves, right? And so this is just called the Snap Camera. It is, you probably can't take me seriously now that I'm doing this, but it's just an app you have to download for your computer. And who knows, you might even be okay with your kids using it. If your students are willing to be on camera and talk and socialize, and have some fun with it, maybe some days you can actually have that available to them. So Snap Camera is the app that I'm using right now that is on my computer. Okay.
Awesome.
You just need to stay like that for the whole rest of the day, I think. This is my last one, and I really just want to make a plug about really considering when you hit reply all on your email. I wanted to write for the love of God, but I refrained and said, for crying out loud. Please really think with the amount of email that we're all getting when you are replying all. So think about who your message needs to be going to. Does everybody that received that email need to hear your answer, or just the person that sent the email? Also, if you're the one sending a big group email, you can definitely help with this by using the BCC field. Even if you're emailing your whole staff, like if you were to write Cornell staff in the BCC field, then not everyone on staff is going to get that. I don't think. Maybe they will. I don't know. But please, just really, with all the email we're about to start getting, just really keep in mind, reply all doesn't always need to be used.
And that's what we have for, well, we had a lot more ideas, but Jen was like, we don't want to overwhelm them. So we are going to have a quick takes part 2 soon, probably in a week or two. This slideshow is already on our website. I know some people have talked about how on the website our slideshows, there's an embedded version where you can watch the slideshow actually on the screen within the website. There's also the option now, we're going to be adding them where there's a link that you click on. If you click on the title of the link, it'll pop it out to a separate window so it's bigger and more readable. But in the remainder of this time, what I'd like to...
Rich, there were a couple things. I was kind of moderating the chat as we went. So before we decide kind of what to do with the rest of our time, I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. Somebody asked about reminders to look at emails later, and there is a snooze feature in your email. It can pop back up later. Super helpful if you don't want to deal with it right now. There's also a bunch of talk about whether or not students will be required to use their AUSD accounts to Zoom. And so I believe with I don't know how that's going to work, but I do know that that would be a big part of ensuring some of the security settings that the district is putting in place. I read in the chat that AHS is going to require students to use their login with their AUSD account, and I don't know if that's district-wide. Rich, have you heard anything about that?
I don't.
I'll ask about that. I have lots of Zoom questions to send to Marie and IT today, and I'm going to add that one as well. It could be hard, yeah, if they're joining, you know, on different devices, or if you're quickly passing a device between one student and another. I know that it's going to be hard. There were a couple of access issues to some of the links, so we'll just go back through and fine tune our slideshow and make sure that any links that we shared on this slideshow in particular have access, are set so that you can get to them. Somebody mentioned, and this is a really great point to think about when you're doing attendance, think about latecomers. And so think about when you're doing attendance during your meeting so that if people pop in late, they're not getting marked as they didn't attend at all. And then someone recommended doing a last initial and then first name for attendance, because then it won't be quite so long and they'll be alphabetized by last initial, and then you'll see the first name and it won't take up all that space. So that was another great suggestion. And then there were a few people that wanted access to the timer slides. So and I did share one with elementary. The one I shared with elementary was more around what you could set on your desktop. If you're continuing a long Zoom meeting and you're all going to take a 10-minute recess break, you can share your screen with kind of a countdown timer of how long their break time is. And so I shared that with elementary. But yeah, timer slides, and YouTube has tons of free timers that you can just find for all different amounts of time. So those were just the things that I noticed in the chat.
So I guess to piggyback on the slides that people are talking about, one thing that you guys have already seen now is that when I share a file with you, be it on especially when I share on our website, if you don't have the share settings correct, they won't be able to access them. They'll get a screen that says you need to request access. And so as you're making your file, multiple times, at least, the last thing you should do before you make it go live is make sure to share settings. You can either make them so that everybody has a link, who has a link can access them, or you can make it such that anybody at AUSD can access them. And so those would be two ways to go about it. And we will make sure that all the ones that we linked today will be accessible. Jen, anything else?
Yeah, someone's asking about locking secondary so they can't change their names. That's a setting where you can either allow or not allow them to change their names in your Zoom settings. So that would be dependent by teacher. Okay. And asking, and someone's, it definitely, is great. At the beginning of the year, I would encourage you to ask your students to share what pronouns they'd like. So in addition to their name, maybe in parentheses to also include their pronouns, and not make assumptions about that on day one.
Okay, I think I've just updated everything in our folder with that to allow for, so I don't know if somebody wants to confirm for us, all the links, I believe, should be accessible. Can we turn chat on and off during class? Yes, there's when you're the host, there's a little security button on your toolbar that you can just press, and you can allow for sharing and chatting and turn those things on and off with one click. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Next session is at 1:40. Sorry, 1:45.
Yeah. So maybe we'll leave this one open if there are people that want to stay on and either and chat, or if you want another kind of longer break. We could also do some smaller breakout rooms again to talk about some of these things and share more ideas.
Let me make a proposal. How about we'll drop the link for the EdTech website so you can go and pull up this slide deck, and then we'll put you in breakout rooms in case you want to talk over ideas, or as you're accessing it, you want to discuss things. Maybe we'll breakout rooms with like 6 or 7 people, 5 people, and you can stay there and chat and work, or you could log off and be done. But the intent, if you want to stay on, access the slide deck. So it's in the teacher toolkit page. can we make you co-host so we can move ourselves around? I don't know if you can you batch everybody to be a co-host?
I don't know if you can do that. And there's 150 people. So
I think
I'm
only
looking
two.
at